breaking news coming in. Ukraine has just, and I mean just, knocked out a Russian Buk-M1 M2.
That's right. The footage started surfacing today, February 3rd, 2026, and it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, we're not talking about a minor hit here. We are talking about a catastrophic detonation of one of Russia's most important air defense assets. But, before we dive into all that smoke and fire, just a quick reminder. Subscribe to Defense Reports. It's your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Aurea in the latest podcast by Defense Report for a sharp, no-nonsense breakdowns of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today we're going to cover exactly how Ukraine is managing to blind the Russian army $1 billion system at a time.
It's great to be here, and you're right to focus on the scale of this. The news today is big, but what we're really seeing isn't just one burning vehicle. It's a sign of a much larger problem for Russia.
Right. And I really want to make sure we avoid just, doom scrolling through destroyed tank videos. We see a tank blow up, we scroll past it. But you're saying this specific strike, it points to a systemic failure.
Absolutely. This single destroyed Buk is just one piece of a massive, and I mean massive, $4 billion puzzle. We're witnessing a systematic dismantling of Russia's air defense network that's leaving their rear completely exposed.
Okay, so we have a ton to get through. We're going to talk about small sky dogfights, which sounds like something out of science fiction.
But it's happening right now.
We're also talking tungsten rain and how a drone they call the Shark is hunting the predators. So stick with us, because this deep dive is going to show you why the Russian air defense umbrella is starting to look more like a sieve.
Let's start with the incident itself, just to set the stage. The footage we're all looking at comes from the Ukrainian 43rd Separate Artillery Brigade.
The 43rd. Okay, these are the heavy hitters, right? I've seen them with the PZH-2000s and those Swedish Archers.
Exactly, the professionals. This strike happened on February 2nd. The target was a Russian Buk-M1, or possibly the newer M2. NATO calls it the gadfly, or grizzly.
Okay, so for anyone listening who doesn't have a defense manual on their nightstand, let's break down what a Buk is. I know it's a missile system, but where does it fit? Is this the big stuff guarding Moscow or something smaller?
It's that critical middle layer. Think of air defense like an onion. You have the giant S-400s way in the back dealing with high-altitude threats. Then you've got guys with man-pads on the front line.
Right.
The Buk is the middle linebacker. It's a mobile system that's supposed to protect troops and tanks from aircraft, cruise missiles, and drones, say from about 35 to 50 kilometers out.
So if you take out the Buk, you've punched a huge hole in that protective bubble.
Yeah.
The troops are suddenly just naked to air attacks.
Precisely. And in this strike, the whole setup was just textbook. The aerial footage shows the Russian crew trying to relocate. They weren't set up to fire, they were on the move.
And why were they moving? Just a routine redeployment?
Probably not. The thinking is they had either just fired, which leaves a huge smoke trail, or they got a warning that they were being tracked. So they were doing the classic shoot and scoop. They pulled this massive vehicle into a forest to hide.
Which might work against a satellite, maybe. But they weren't dealing with a satellite.
Yeah, they were dealing with the Shark.
Okay, the Ukrainian recon drone we keep hearing about.
Yeah.
This isn't just some off-the-shelf quadcopter, is it?
Not even close. The Shark is a military-grade surveillance platform. It can stay in the air for over 7 hours, and it has a range of about 420 kilometers.
7 hours. Wow, that's almost an entire work shift, just loitering.
And that is the absolute key. It was loitering high above the Buk. It's made of composite materials. It's small, so the Russian radar probably never even saw it. The Shark just watched them park, watched them turn off the engine, and then it sent the coordinates.
So the Buk crew pulls into the trees. They probably think, okay, we're safe. They shut down the engine. And then what?
Then comes the tungsten rain. The 43rd Brigade called in a strike from a U.S.-supplied HIMARS using an M30A1 rocket.
I want to pause on that because tungsten rain sounds like a cool metaphor, but it's literal, isn't it?
It is. The M30A1 isn't a big explosion. It's an airburst munition. It detonates above the target and releases 182,000 preformed tungsten steel spheres.
182,000. It's basically a giant shotgun blast from directly overhead.
A shotgun blast that shreds everything. Tungsten is incredibly dense. Those spheres tear through radar dishes, electronics, missile tubes, light armor. You don't need a direct hit. The vehicle is just neutralized.
And that's why the Buk was just mission killed, as they say. It wasn't a huge fireball. It just stopped working.
Exactly. The footage shows it was neutralized before it could even think about firing again. It's a terrifying level of precision.
But let's circle back to the Shark drone. We always focus on the shooter, the HIMARS, but it sounds like the sensor is where the real innovation is happening here.
It absolutely is. The HIMARS is just the hammer. The shark is the eye telling it where to swing. And the newer sharks, the ones delivered in mid-2025, they're not just cameras anymore. They have ELINT capabilities.
ELINT,
Mhm.
so electronic intelligence. It's listening, not just looking.
Right. It detects radar emissions. Every radar has a unique electronic signature. A buck turns on its radar to scan the sky, and it's basically screaming its location to the shark.
It's like playing Marco Polo in a dark room. You shout, Marco, to find someone.
And the shark hears you and drops a rocket on your head. Yes, that's a surprisingly good analogy.
So it creates this impossible dilemma for the Russian crews. Turn your radar on and get hit, or keep it off and you're blind.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. And that's where the shark's endurance is so lethal. Previously, a Russian SAM could shoot and then move 5 kilometers, and by the time anyone figured out where they were gone.
But the shark can follow them for hours.
For 7 hours. It doesn't lose the track. So that scoop phase, which used to be their safety blanket, is now the most vulnerable part of their operation. The hunter has become the hunted.
Which brings us to the bigger picture. You threw out a number at the top of the show that I can't get out of my head. $4 billion.
It's a staggering figure. It comes from the SBU's Alpha unit. They claim that in 2025 alone, they destroyed $4 billion worth of Russian air defense systems.
Just to put that in context, $4 billion in just one category of equipment. Is that even sustainable for Russia?
Not easily. You can't just ramp up production of a Buk-M3 or a HIMARS radar. These need high-end microchips, things that are really hard to get under sanctions. They are burning through a finite, very expensive stockpile.
And Ukraine is deliberately targeting them. This is the peeling the onion strategy I've read about.
That's the one. Walk me through it. How do you peel a militarized onion?
Well, you start with the eyes. Step 1. Ukraine goes after the huge long-range surveillance radars, like the HIMARS. These things are worth over $100 million each. You blind the big giant first.
Exactly. Once the HIMARS is gone, the local air defense commanders are blind. They have to turn on the smaller radars on their Bucks and their Tors just to see what's coming.
Which brings us right back to the Marco Polo problem.
You got it. The moment they turn on their radar, they light themselves up. Step 3. They get hit with a HARM missile or a HIMARS rocket. It's a cascading failure by design.
And we're seeing this play out across the front. The Sumy region, for instance.
Yeah, just on January 21st, the 8th Air Assault Corps took out a Buk-M2 and a Buk-M3 in a single day. That's what, $70–80 million gone in an afternoon.
We've seen it in Crimea, too.
Yeah.
Tors, Costa radars, they're all getting hammered.
And the goal is to create these corridors. You punch a hole in the air defense net, and suddenly your long-range drones have a safe path to fly deep into Russia and hit oil refineries, airfields, ammo dumps.
So that connects the dots. People wonder how a slow drone flies hundreds of kilometers into Russia.
Right.
The answer is, Buck that was supposed to shoot it down is already a wreck in a field somewhere.
Correct. But there's another whole layer to this air war we have to talk about, and that's the small sky.
I love that term, the small sky. So we're talking about the low-altitude airspace.
Exactly, the zone below 2,000 meters.
Yeah.
This is now the domain of a new kind of warfare, the interceptor drone.
Okay, I read about this. Ukraine is planning to deliver something like 40,000 of these things. That number sounds unreal.
It's a massive push. And these aren't little fighter jets. Think of them as aerial kamikazes. They're designed to hunt down and destroy Russian reconnaissance drones like the Orlan 10 and the Zala.
And the Orlans are the eyes for Russian artillery.
Right. They're everything to Russian artillery. The Orlan finds a target, and the shells start falling minutes later. So if you can shoot down the Orlan with a cheap interceptor drone, you blind the artillery.
A robot dogfight to protect your own forces.
It's incredibly cost-effective. You're trading say, a $1,000 FPV drone for a $100,000 Russian spy drone. You win that economic trade every single time. And more importantly, you protect your high-value assets like the HIMARS and Archers.
It's amazing how fast this is all moving. I
Yeah.
saw a quote from Mikhailo Fedorov, their Minister of Digital Transformation. He said 40,000 interceptors went from an idea no one believed in to reality in just a few months.
It really shows you the speed of innovation. In the West, a new anti-drone system might take 5 years to develop. In Ukraine, it takes 5 weeks because they're literally coding it in a basement while being shelled.
Speaking of the assets they're protecting, let's talk about the shooters. We know the 43rd Brigade uses HIMARS, but they're also famous for the Swedish Archer system.
Ah, the Archer. It's a masterpiece of engineering. If HIMARS is the sledgehammer, the Archer is the sniper rifle. It's a fully automated 155mm howitzer.
And I found this detail really felt touching. The crews are naming them.
Yeah, the Matilda story. The 43rd Brigade named their first Archers Matilda, Alice, Hugo, after their Swedish instructors. It's such a human detail in all this. It shows that real bond.
It's a great tribute. But what makes Matilda so good on the battlefield?
Speed and automation. The Archer drives up, digs its own camouflage position. The gun elevates, it fires a whole volley, and it's driving away before the first shell even lands. It's the ultimate shoot-and-scoot machine.
And in a war where drones see everything, speed is life.
It's everything.
Now, I have seen some chatter comparing other systems, like the Polish Crab versus the German PZH-2000. It sounds like the Ukrainian gunners have some, let's say, strong opinions.
They do, and it's a fascinating lesson in wartime engineering. The German PZH-2000 is a technological marvel. It's precise, it loads itself, but it is very complex. It has sensors for everything.
I'm guessing sensors don't like mud and dust?
They hate mud and dust. Gunners report the electronics can fail under the intense grit and vibration of the front line. It's a bit like taking a Formula One car off-roading.
In the Polish Crab.
The Crab is more of a rugged workhorse. It uses a South Korean chassis, a British turret. Crews seem to find it more reliable in the harsh conditions. It's a case where sometimes you want a tractor, not a Ferrari.
That makes perfect sense. Reliability beats fancy features when you're getting shot at.
Exactly. But let's bring this all back to the strategic level. The attrition of the Bucks, the radars, the drone wars. What does it all mean?
Right, because it's about the industrial war, isn't it?
It is. Russia is losing high-tech systems far faster than it can replace them. The technological debt they're building up is massive, and that degradation of their air defense is what's enabling a shift to offense for Ukraine.
You're talking about the U.S. authorization to strike deep into Russia from back in late 2024.
Exactly. You combine that permission with the physical holes Ukraine is punching in the air defense net, and suddenly those huge strikes on airfields and fuel depots make sense.
And the loss of those jets over the Black Sea recently, the Su-34 and Su-30.
That's direct evidence the air defense umbrella is failing. If Russia can't protect its own jets over the Black Sea, they can't launch those glide bombs that have caused so much trouble.
So it's not air superiority in the classic sense. It's more like air denial.
It's a positional air war. Ukraine is successfully dictating where Russian planes cannot go. And for a country with a much smaller air force, that is a huge strategic victory.
So what's the big takeaway here? Why does one burning buck in a forest matter so much?
It matters because it shows how precision and intelligence are dismantling Russia's reliance on mass and quantity. Ukraine knows it can't win a tank-for-tank slugging match.
So it's asymmetric warfare.
The purest form. They're blinding the enemy so the enemy's strength becomes irrelevant. If you can't see and you can't stop them from seeing you, you lose.
And the news from February 3rd is just the latest proof of concept. The destruction of this buck isn't a one-off. It's part of a systematic campaign.
A campaign fueled by Western tech like HIMARS, but driven by Ukrainian innovation like the Shark. It's this incredible hybrid of high-tech aid and battlefield ingenuity.
You know, it leaves me with one final thought. We always say logistics wins wars. If Russia can no longer protect its own skies from cheap drones because its multi-million-dollar missile systems are being destroyed, how long can it actually sustain this war effort when its entire rear is on fire?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? If you can't protect your fuel depots and your ammo dumps, eventually your front line just starves.
A sobering thought for the Kremlin. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. Thanks for diving deep with us today, and don't forget, subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.